A very good morning, children. Today we are going to cover this chapter 5 of your supplementary reader, right? And the chapter name is Princess September. It is written by Somerset Maugham. Very sweet story of a girl and her pet, right? So, Princess September, like each one of her numerous sisters, receives the gift of a parrot in a golden cage on her father's birthday. The parrot dies, and by chance, a singing bird comes in its place. The princess shows off her pet to the sisters, who advise her to put it in a cage. Now, let's see how the story unfolds. The king and queen of Siam had many daughters, and the queen said that it confused her to have to remember so many names. One day, the king decided to call them January, February, March, though, of course, in the local dialect of the same place, the place name is Siam, and the local dialect name is Siamese, right? So the same is written under bracket, though of course in Siamese, till he came to the youngest, whom he called September. So Princess September was the youngest of all the sisters. The king of Siam had a peculiar habit. Instead of receiving gifts on his birthday, he gave them. One day on his birthday, not having anything else handy, he gave each of his daughters a green parrot in a golden cage. The princesses were very proud of their parrots, and they spent an hour every day in teaching them to talk. Presently, all the parrots could say, "God save the king," and some of them could say, "Pretty Polly," in no less than 7 Oriental languages. Now, at the bottom of this page, you can see the meaning Siam, the old name of Thailand. Now, this place is called as Thailand, but earlier it was called as Siam. Handy means immediately available. Oriental is referring to of the east. The Orient means countries of the far east. It's opposite to the Occident, right? Now this is the illustration. Here you can see a scene of the palace where the king can be seen giving a gift, giving a cage to a daughter. She looks like Princess September, right? So here um, So now, what is happening in the scene is, but one day when Princess September went to say good morning to her parrot, she found it lying dead at the bottom of its golden cage. So all the princesses were having one parrot, right? And they could speak a little, right? So when she found her parrot to be dead, she is very much sad. She burst into a flood of tears, and nothing that her maid of honor could say comforted her. She cried so much that the maids of honor, not knowing what to do, told the queen, and the queen said it was tough and nonsense that the child had better go to bed without any supper. Here, children, the child had better. Had better is here is a model. It means should. The child should go to bed without any supper. बिना खाना खाए ही बच्चे को बेड पे जाना चाहिए. इतना रो रहा था वो, है ना? क्वीन का बच्चा कौन था? प्रिंसेस सेप्टेम्बर, द यंगेस्ट of all the kids. The maids of honor wanted to go to a party, so they put Princess September to bed as quickly as they could, and they left her by herself. And while she lay in her bed, crying, still, even though she felt rather hungry, she saw a little bird hop into her room. She wiped her tears and sat up. Then the little bird began to sing, and he sang a beautiful song all about the lake in the king's garden and the wind and the willow trees that looked at themselves in the still water, and the goldfish that glided in and out of the branches that were reflected in it. Right? So here comes the description of the little parrot uh, which came all of a sudden to Princess September. When he had finished, the princess was not crying anymore, and she quite forgot that she had no supper. So now what happened is, uh, she is all crying, right? Now the bird sees all this, and what happens? Then the little bird began to sing, and as And he sang a beautiful song all about the lake in the king's garden and the willow trees that looked at themselves in the still water and the goldfish that glided in and out of the branches that were reflected in it. When he had finished, the princess was not crying anymore, and she quite forgot that she had had no supper. That was a very nice song, she said. Maids of honor means women attending the princess. Right, so the little bird gave her a bow. Would you care to have me in place of your parrot? Said the little bird. It's true that I am not so pretty to look at, but on the other hand, I have a much better voice. Princess September clapped her hands with delight, and then the little bird hopped on to the end of a bed and sang her to sleep. When she awoke next day, the little bird was still there, and as she opened her eyes, he said, "Good morning." The maids of honor brought in her breakfast, and he ate rice out of her hand, and he had his bath in her saucer. Right, he began to sing again so beautifully that the maids of honor were quite surprised. For they had never heard anything like it, and Princess September was very proud. Princess September was very proud and happy. Now I want to show you. So what did she say? She says that now I want to show you to my 8 sisters, said the princess. She stretched out the first of her right hand so that it served as a perch, and the little bird flew down and sat on it. Then, followed by her maids of honor, she went through the palace and called on each one of the princesses, and for each of them the little bird sang a different song. But the parrots could only say, "God save the king" and "Pretty Polly." At last she showed the little bird to the king and the queen. They were surprised and delighted. "I knew I was right to send you to bed without any supper," said the queen. "This bird sings much better than the parrots," said the king. Right, so children, are you able to understand how Princess September is so happy? She has now almost forgotten the pain of her parrot. The previous parrot was dead on the floor, and now this little bird has come all of a sudden, and she sings so beautifully that now the same princess, she wants to flaunt this bird to all the people in the palace, including her sisters, her parents, right? And the same is going on. And now when the same meeting is going on, her mother is quipping, and she says that, "See, I was so right that I send you to bed without any supper." To this, what did the king say? The king is replying, "This bird sings much better than the parrots. I should have thought you got quite tired of hearing people say, 'God save the king,'" said the queen. "I can't think why those girls wanted to teach their parrots to say it too." "The sentiment is admirable," said the king, "and I never mind how often I hear it. But I do get tired of hearing those parrots say 'Pretty Polly.' They say it in 17 different languages," said the princesses. "I dare say they do," said the king, "but it reminds me too much of my counselors. They say the same thing in 7 different ways, and it never means anything in any way they say it." So children, here you can see that how the little bird's arrival is bringing all of a sudden a new change, and people are getting to know about this little bird, and how the age old patterns and traditions are put to question mark, right? Now the queen is also forced to think that, oh yes, this little bird is so different from the parrots, and they are all having no answers that to why the little parrots were being trained in the same pattern and to say the same thing over a longer period of time, right? So now let us see what is happening next. Here is the illustration, and look at the king, how he is enjoying with the Princess September, who is in pink gown, and she is seen so happy, so gleeful with her little bird. And With her are the king and the queen. They both look so happy and surprised, huh? Very amazed at the quality of the little bird. Now, the princesses were vexed at this, and the parrots looked very glum indeed. But Princess September ran through all the rooms of the palace, singing like a lark, while the little bird flew round and round her, singing like a nightingale. Things went on like this for several days, and then the 8 princesses put their heads together. They went to September and sat down in a circle round her. My poor September, they said, we are sorry for the death of your beautiful parrot. It must be dreadful for you not to have a pet bird as we have. So we have all put our pocket money together and we are going to buy you a lovely green and yellow parrot. Thank you for nothing, said September. I have a pet bird which sings the most charming songs to me, and I don't know what on earth I should do with a green and yellow parrot. Well, my dear, they said, it's absurd to talk of your bird when the little fellow flies in and out just as he likes. They looked round the room and raised their eyebrows. So here, children, what is being going on? Here the sisters are all jealous now and they have joined hands to teach Princess September a lesson, and they are now scheming a conspiracy. They are scheming a plot, and under the same plot they have come to Princess September. They are trying to they are trying to tell Princess September that you just buy a new parrot, to which she denied. Vexed means distressed, worried. Glum means sad. Put their hands together. It means discussed amongst themselves to take a decision. Right? So, do you mind our asking where your bird is now? They said. He has gone to pay a visit to his father-in-law, said Princess September. And what makes you think he will come back? Asked the princesses. He always does come back, said September. Well, my dear, said the 8 princesses, if you will take our advice, you won't run any risk like that. If he comes back, and mind you, if he does, you'll be lucky. Pop him into the cage and keep him there. That's the only way you can be sure of him. But I like to have him fly about the room, said the young Princess September. Safety first, said her sisters ominously. They got up and walked out of the room, shaking their hands, and they left September very uneasy. So now, children, the sisters are quite seen to be successful in, in manipulating Princess September, and they are somehow, they have made her conscious that what if the little bird goes away and what if he never comes back, right? So now the princess is in thoughts, and she's thinking that okay, so I think I must look for the safety of my little bird. And for the same, um, now she is lost in thoughts, and on the other hand, the sisters are gleaming, they are happy, and they are shaking their hands that yes, we have finally, made our plan into work. Now Princess September is going to put that little bird in the cage, and now the little bird will not be able to fly freely, whether across the palace, whether across the entire kingdom, or across the room, right? So now let's see what happens in the second part. These are the 3 pointers which we'll be covering in the next 10 minutes. Princess September loves the bird far too much to take chances and acts upon her sister's advice. The bird cannot overcome the loss of freedom. Princess September decides to put the bird's happiness above her own. So here, children, the princess is actually thinking about the security and safety of the little bird, right? And for the same, she is quite worried that what if someone kills the bird? What if my bird gets, taken by somebody else? Or what if some harm is done to my bird? So now she is in some thoughts. And let's see what happens. It seemed to Princess September that her little bird had been away a long time. Something might have happened to him. What with hawks and with snares? You never knew what trouble he might get into. Besides, he might forget her, or he might take a fancy to somebody else. Who is he here? He is referring to the little bird, right? She is getting all these random thoughts about the little bird. That would be dreadful. She wished he were safely back again. Suddenly, September heard a tweet tweet just behind her ear, and she saw the little bird sitting on her shoulder. He had come in so quietly and alighted so softly that she had not heard him. I wondered what on earth had become of you, said the princess. So, what has happened? Now, for some time, now the princess is waiting for the little bird, and the little bird is still not back. And Princess September is getting random thoughts about the little bird, that why the bird has not returned. Just in the same moment, the little bird came very softly, and it arrived, right? And the princess is now relaxed. So what happens is, the princess is saying, and so these all things are going on in her head, but let's see what the little bird has to say to Princess September, who is already so much worried, right, about the security of the little bird. So, say the princess, I wondered what on earth had become of you. I thought you would wonder that. The fact is, I very nearly didn't come back tonight at all. My father-in-law was giving a party and they all wanted me to stay. But I thought you would be anxious. Under the circumstances, this was a very unfortunate remark for the little bird to make. Now the little bird was not aware that why the princess has asked such a question and what he should have not said, right? These all things are unknown to this little bird, okay? But what happens after the little bird made this remark? Okay. September felt her heart go thump against her chest, and she made up her mind to take no more risk. She put up her hand and took hold of the bird. The bird suspected nothing, and he was so surprised when she carried him over to the cage, popped him in, and shut the door on him, that for a moment he could think of nothing to say. But in a moment or two he hopped up to the ivory perch and said, "What is the joke?" Now the bird is suddenly kept by Princess September all of a sudden in a cage, and the bird could not react that what is happening with him, what she is doing, right? Without her reaction, she had not got any moment to react, and the bird asked, right? What is the joke? There is no joke, said September, but some of Mama's cats are prowling about tonight, and I think you are much safer in here. Well, just for this once I don't mind, said the little bird. So long as you let me out in the morning. He ate a very good supper and then began to sing, but in the middle of his song he stopped. I don't know what is the matter with me, he said, but I don't feel like singing tonight. Very well, said September. Go to sleep instead. So he put his head under his wing and in a minute was fast asleep. September went to sleep too, but when the dawn broke, she was awakened by the little bird calling her at the top of his voice. Wake up, wake up! Open the door of this cage and let me out. I want to have a good fly while the dew is still on the ground. Now this conversation is going on between September and the little bird, but actually the little bird was unaware that now he is in the cage for good, forever. He thought that Princess September, as she told that there is a risk of Mama's cat. Mama's cat may eat her up, right? So because of that, last night the bird thought that, okay, in the morning you let me go, let me free, right? But in the morning too, the bird saw that there is no change and he is still in the cage. So now he's thumping her and he is waking her up that get up and open the cage. I want to take a flight. You are much better off where you are, said September. Let me out, said the little bird. And he tried to slip through the bars of the cage, but of course couldn't. And he beat against the door, but of course he could not open it. Then the 8 princesses came in and looked at him. They told September she was very wise to take their advice. They said he would soon get used to the cage and in a few days would quite forget he had ever been free. The little bird said nothing at all while they were there, but as soon as they were gone, he began to cry again. Let me out, let me out. Prowling means moving about quietly. Now, what is happening, dear all? Don't be such an old silly, said September. I have put you in the cage because I'm so fond of you. I know what's good for you much better than you do yourself. Sing me a little song and I'll give you a piece of sugar. So now, children, the little bird is very much suffocated and the sisters have come to make a check that how it is going on with their plan. And they patted Princess September. They praised her that very good. You have listened to our advice and see now your bird is so safe. While they were saying all these things, the bird was there and he did not say a word. But the moment they were not there, the little bird again made the request, and to this request, Princess replied him back, right, that you don't know anything. I'm thinking and I'm doing this for your safety. I love you so much. I care about you a lot. That's the reason your security is of top priority to me. But what is happening? Now, the princess is saying that sing me a little song and I'll give you a piece of sugar. But the little bird stood in the corner of his cage, looking out at the blue sky and never sang a note. What's the good of sulking? Said September. Why don't you sing and forget your troubles? How can I sing? Answered the bird. I want to see the trees and the lake and the green rice growing in the field. I'll take you out every day. So यहाँ पे प्रिंसेस सेप्टेम्बर उसे कहती है कि मैं तुम्हें पिंजरे में ही मैं तुम्हें डेली बाहर लेके जाया करूँगी. But it's not the same thing, said the little bird. The rice fields and the lake and the willow trees look quite different when you see them through the bars of a cage. है ना? यहाँ पे लिटिल बर्ड का क्या रिप्लाई आता है कि जब हम उसे बंद पिंजरे में से देखते हैं, किसे देखते हैं? राइस फील्ड्स को, लेक को, विलो ट्रीज को, तो वो बहुत ही अलग नजर आती है. The bird wouldn't sing a song and he wouldn't eat a thing. The princess was a little anxious at this and asked her sisters what they thought about it. You must be firm, they said, but if he won't eat, he'll die. She answered. That would be very ungrateful of him, they said. He must know that you are only thinking of his own good. If he is obstinate and dies, it will serve him right and you will be well rid of him. Now, what is the conversation and who are the people? So the princess is in conversation with his sisters, right? And what are they saying to her? They are reminding her that you are doing the correct thing, and let him say, do not listen to his statements, do not listen to his pleas. You are doing the right thing, and if he does not listen to you, he will get the result. He soon will suffer himself. September didn't see how that was going to do her very much good, but they were 8 to 1 and all older than she, so she said nothing. Perhaps he will have got used to his cage by tomorrow. Now she's thinking that, oh my God, why he's not listening to me? So okay, as my sisters are 8 in number and they are older than me, so probably whatever they are saying, it's correct. But how it is of her good, she was not able to understand. ये चीज़ें उसको किस तरीके से help कर रही थी, ये उसे समझ नहीं आ रहा था. तो प्रिंसेस यहाँ पे सोचती है कि क्या पता कल तक the bird will be used to the cage, and she is keeping false hope. Let's see what happens next. And next day when she awoke, she cried out mourning, In a cheerful voice, she got no answer. She jumped out of the bed and ran to the cage. She gave a startled cry, for there the little bird lay. Now in the morning when Princess is awake, she is totally startled by the condition of the little bird. The little bird is found lying on the bottom of the cage, on his side with his eyes closed, and he looked as if he were dead. She opened the door and putting her hand in lifted him out. She gave a sob of relief, for she felt that his little heart was beating still. Wake up, little bird. She began to cry and her tears fell on the little bird. He opened his eyes and saw that the bars of the cage were no longer around him. I cannot sing unless I am free, and if I cannot sing, I die, he said. The princess gave a great sob. Princess बहुत रोने लगती है ना? Then, take your freedom. I shut you in a golden cage because I loved you and I wanted to have you all to myself, but I never knew it would kill you. I love you enough to let you be happy in your own way. She threw open the window and gently placed the little bird on the sill. He shook himself a little. Come and go as you will, little bird, she said. Now the little bird is being free by the princess. Princess says, I will never put you in a cage anymore. Now, what is the reply of the bird? Look how happy he is now after being free from the cage. I will come because I love you, little princess, said the bird, and I will sing you the loveliest songs I know. I shall go far away, but I shall always come back and I shall never forget you. He gave himself another shake. Good gracious me, how stiff I am, he exclaimed. Then he opened his wings and flew right away into the blue. But the little princess burst into tears, for it is very difficult to put the happiness of someone you love before your own, and with her little bird far out of sight, she felt all of a sudden very lonely. When her sisters knew what had happened, they mocked her and said, mocked means mazak udana, and said that the little bird would never return. But he did at last, and he sat on September's shoulder and ate out of her hand and sang her the beautiful songs he had learned while he was flying up and down the fair places of the world. September kept her window open day and night so that the little bird might come into her room whenever he felt inclined, and this was very good for her. So she grew extremely beautiful. Since she has started opening the windows of her room, every day, every night, every morning, the windows of her room would always be open for the little bird, right? So what was the effect of it on Princess? She grew extremely beautiful. As she became adult, as she grown up, she was so beautiful. And when she was old enough, she married the king of Cambodia and was carried on a white elephant all the way to the city in which the king lived. But her sisters never slept with their windows open, so they grew extremely ugly as well as disagreeable. And when the time came to marry them off, they were given away to the king's counselors with a pound of tea and a Siamese cat. So how lovely story it is, children, and Somerset Maugham has rightly given us a message that if you love someone, you need to let them free. You cannot love someone by forcing them into a certain condition, situation. If you love someone, you will give them the freedom. You will give them the space. You will not take away their freedom from them. And the same should be happen to the other person, right? This sense of freedom should be given from both the ends, right? So that's how the princess learnt at the end, and she could not see her bird suffering. So she put her freedom before her own, and that's how she was rewarded. She became beautiful by, letting her windows always open, whether it's day or night, and she got married to the king of Cambodia. But what happened to the sisters? The sisters were like that. They kept on their they kept on their jealousy temperament for good, and they never opened the window of their rooms, so they grew very ugly, right? So that's how the story has ended, and I hope the story is clear. The story has 2 comprehension checks. You should try to attend all of these. I'll share the PDF soon in the group, so read it once and listen to this video also. This video will help you in understanding the chapter in a better way. Okay, thank you. That's all.